All right. So this week's topic is going to be our corporate partnerships. So for some of you who may not know, the one of the really valuable parts of art of homeownership is to be able to become the preferred real estate agent or the preferred lending partner for companies, corporations, uh, charitable organizations, any group, PTA, you name it, right? It's anything that has 20 plus members or employees. You should strive to be the preferred vendor when it comes to real estate or finance for that institution. People have been talking about this since I've got into the mortgage industry. I remember getting in 2005 and hearing about some people trying it. I remember in 2009 when I was at Bay Equity, we tried to concoct something around it. Same thing when I was at iMortgage and so on and so forth. It never actually got off the ground with any of those companies. And the reason why, fundamentally, the reason why, is because there was never any offering of real value to the employee. It was only an offering of when or if the employee wants to buy, sell, or finance a home, discounted services would be available. That's it. And it became clear to me that, with the exception of some of the larger institutions, right? So, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, First Foundation, like some of these larger institutions will have partnerships with larger companies just as an employee resource. And they have, a mortgage option there, but it's really nothing other than maybe they save on appraisal or something like that. And most companies don't want to put themselves in a position where they have reputational risk. And what I mean by that is if I'm XYZ Manufacturing and I have 1,000 employees and Joe loan officer and Katie real estate agent come to me and say, hey, we'd love to be your real estate and lending or your real estate and lending team. And if you use us, client will get 1% off of their commissions and they'll save an eighth on their interest rate and have no closing costs and get excellent customer service. Oh, and we may do some lunch and learns every now and then, which are really just sales pitches and market updates. So if I'm XYZ Manufacturer, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to put our company's reputation in the hands of, a relatively a smaller or more unknown entity, which, spoiler alert, we all are. We're not Bank of America, with no real upside, because I don't know if your eighth of a point lower is still the best. Could they get something better? And if they find that there's a better rate out there, are they going to come back to me as the employer and say, the lending partner we chose is expensive? Or, I actually, can get my home sold by this online company and they're only going to charge me $500 or, 1%. And they're going to do all these other things. So I don't really have any upside as an employer other than giving some sort of name. It's really just a referral situation at that point. So that's why none of these have ever really worked out. I've never heard or met of anybody that's done them well at a high level. And I realized when we created Art of Homeownership, it's simply because of the fact that there's no actual proactive value that the employee gets. So I'll start with our Facebook partnership. When I first made and I'm going to back into all this a little bit later here, but when I first made the phone call to HR, when we got on the webinar, I was nervous, to say the least, because I knew the substantial nature of the opportunity. And the first thing out of the gates that he says is, oh yeah, so-and-so said that, they did their mortgage with you and you were great and that we should talk. What's going on? Like, had no pretext for what we were even about to talk about. He just took the call because of the employee that asked. And I said, we're a mortgage company. We partner with a company called the Art of Homeownership, and we offered this program to your employee. We'll call her Susie for anonymity. We'll call her, to Susie. She absolutely loved our service, the experience, and she was blown away by the level of value that she's going to get for the next 30 plus years. And I told Susie, this is something that we offer to employers as an employer benefit to be able to offer their employees. And he said, first thing out of his mouth, he says, well, we already have a preferred lender with First Foundation Bank that they do our mortgages for our clients. What makes you different? And if I didn't have Art of Homeownership, I would have been dead in my tracks, because I can't say that we have better service. That's a very subjective thing and that nobody can actually quantify. I can't say that we have cheaper interest rates because I don't know if we do. And even if we discount our rates, I still don't know where theirs are, and they fluctuate all the time. So I wouldn't have really had much of a leg to stand on. But the first thing I said, and this just kind of came to me, I said, well, your employees don't actually want mortgages. What they want is education and valuable services and content that will help them ultimately either become a homeowner or help them become a more successful homeowner if they already own a home. And that's what we're willing to offer. And it doesn't cost you as the employer anything. It doesn't cost the employee anything. We are making the investment in Facebook and all Facebook employees, simply knowing that if we invest in the success of all of your employees, that we will likely have the opportunity to earn their mortgage and their real estate business. Not guaranteed, it's not contractual. They can ultimately use whoever they want. But let me show you all the ways in which we can help your employees. And then we launched into the deck, which I'll show you guys here in a little bit. Any questions on up to this point? No. Okay, cool. And again, if you have questions, type it in the Q&A or the chat, or raise your hand and we can unmute you and we can chat through it. So first thing you want to do is figure, okay, well, how do we even start, right? How do we get the process started? You want to use existing relationships. So obviously the easiest existing relationship is the client whom you're working with, whether you're helping them buy, sell, or finance a home. So in your pre-purchase consultation, your buyer's consultation, your listing presentation, whatever consultation you're having, this is where you want to plant the seeds. At this point, you already know, right, where they work, and that's going to be on the application. And if you're in the real estate game, then you make small talk. Where do you work? What do you do? So be ready to talk about it in that consultation. So when they sign the buyer agreement, or when you're out showing them homes, bring it up. When they sign the listing presentation, you do your first consultation with them on what, where to list the home at and what you need to do, bring it up then. For the mortgage providers, in that pre-purchase consultation that we have prior to them, going out and finding a home, bring up, hey, I know you work for ABC Widget Making. One of the things that we do is we're going to give you this great service. We also want to give it to them. You don't need to do this now, but throughout this process, if you don't mind, try and think about who we can connect with at your company that will, that we can talk to about offering this platform to all of your coworkers and the employees of ABC Widget Making as well. And then you're going to bring it up again later in the process. This is where you kind of want to plant the seeds and ask them to do a little bit of homework. And then next is you want to use the post-closing call to ask again, right? And then you set a follow-up. So the post-closing call is really where it becomes handy. And then the follow-up is where you really see the momentum. So in the post-closing call, again, the post-closing call scripts are in the e-learning platform. Just type in post-closing and you'll see the videos, you'll hear the content, all that. But the question you want to ask is, hey, or you explain how you're going to help them for the next 30 years. You explain the relationship, you explain the expectations, you explain Art of Homeownership. And then you say, so I know I talked to you about this briefly before, but did you get a chance to connect with anyone in your HR, any managers, or anybody in your company that we could talk to? Because I'd really love to offer the same thing we're offering you in terms of Art of Homeownership to all of your coworkers and the employees of ABC Widget Making. Who would be the best person to touch base with? If they don't give you that contact information right then or there, or they say they don't know, then you want to ask, well, is it okay if we reach out to them proactively, and if we find a contact, is it okay if we use your name and let your company know that we just helped you? 99.9% of the time, you're going to get a yes. I don't know if I've ever gotten a no, but if you get one, then just respect their privacy and don't use their name. So then you can just reach out to them and say, hey, HR, I just closed or helped, Mary buy a home, and we gave her the financing, and this is, a platform that we're offering to her, and she mentioned that it'd be great to reach out to you. So can we find a time to connect? What's the best, phone number? Blah blah blah. if they say, you know what, let me get back to you, let me find out the right person, then either set a follow-up time to follow up with them and ask again, or this is where your customer success manager comes in and actually is the follow-up strategy here. And so this used to be called post-closing manager, but we changed the name to customer success manager because we just believe it makes more sense to classify it as that. Your customer success manager on the 3-month call should be asking, on the 6-month call, on annual financial reviews, their goal should be continually to try and find the right kind of gatekeeper to get in and have that conversation. Next is outside of the client would be reach out to your partners and ask for connections. So if you're a lender, I mean, what a great value add, right? Call your top 10 real estate professionals and say, hey, look, I want to help us become the preferred real estate and lending team for as many of your clients' employers as we possibly can. Here's my strategy to do it. Can you please go through your database and see who owns a company, who is in HR, who's a manager, who is an influencer in their company, and then try and make connections. And then let's do an email campaign or a video or a bomb to your database, just letting them know, hey, we'd love to connect with your employer. We have a new service. We want to offer it as an employee benefit, and see who gets back to us with that. Really great way. And if I'm a real estate agent, I'm loving that and saying, yeah, let's, if you can get me in as the preferred agent for any of the companies that my clients work for, then I'd love to help you with it. Also, for real estate agents and lenders, reach out to your CPAs, because shocker, they help a lot of people who own companies. Reach out to your financial planners. They help a lot of people who own companies. Estate planning attorneys, contractors, family law practices, all the people who are going to be on your trusted professional success or section of your website. And just ask for connections, who they know. And sometimes it would behoove you to actually set relationships with them. So if one of your estate planning attorneys works for a larger firm, then there's your target, right? It's that larger firm. If you have a financial planner who has, works with 50 other financial planners and all their support teams, so on and so forth, and they have 200 people in their company, that's your target. So realize you already have targets, you already have, connections, and you already have business partners that will help you with that. Next is going to be past client outreach. So if you haven't already launched this, and if you haven't already done this, then reach out to your past client database and let them know that this is something that you're now doing and offering, and you'd love a connection. And then LinkedIn is obviously a really great one. You likely have hundreds, if not thousands, of connections on LinkedIn, and you can just go through and message people and say, you may not have time to do this, but put your marketing person on this, right? Put your business development manager on this, put your production partner or whomever would be in charge, like have them go in and start asking for connections, and then start setting those conversations, start setting those meetings. Any questions before we moved into the next part here? Okay. So one is establishing who to contact. Ideally, it's going to be HR, right? Because they're typically the ones that are the gatekeepers to these types of decisions, and then they'll run it by either the board or the managing partner or whomever. But typically anything employee benefit related runs through HR. A manager can hear it, but then they're still going to want to run it by HR just to make sure that it gets input into the system correctly. So any manager would be a good contact, any director position, really anybody who has a line that will listen to you, who will then put you in touch with the right person. But ultimately, HR is going to be the one to get to there. And then you want to figure out what the goal of the initial outreach is, right? So the goal of the initial call is not to sell the product, right? It's not to create the partnership. It's to create intrigue and awareness, and then set a meeting time to where you can do the actual presentation, which we'll go over here in a second. So if you get on and you try and say, oh, we have this thing and let me show it to you, well, like it's just too much and they're not quite ready for it. So you want to tease it a bit. And this was the same thing that we did with Facebook is, my first call was about 15 minutes, and then we set up the webinar and we actually did the presentation to the group. And, I have my business development manager on the call with me. I wish I would have recorded it. Their exact words were, oh my goodness, this is incredible. Like all of our employees get this. Like I personally, like the HR lady said, I personally need a lot of this stuff. I can only imagine how many of our employees would benefit from it. She goes, I'm about to move. That relocation thing sounds great for me. And you know how many people we have moving here at Facebook all across the country. So just that in its own right would be helpful. So getting someone excited and then doing the pitch is kind of the two-step process. Um, the communication, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, is that you don't want to pitch this as, we'd love to be your preferred lender or your preferred real estate agent, because that's really not what we're trying to do here. In the truest sense of the corporate partnership, we're trying to offer an employee benefit, right? We're trying to offer a suite of services that XYZ Manufacturing can now offer to all of their employees who want to opt in or be a part of it. And it doesn't cost them anything. And you'll see how powerful that is when we get into the presentation aspect of it. But if you come at it like, hey, we'd love to talk to you about becoming the preferred realtor and the preferred lender, and this is what we have, then you're asking for something. You're not offering anything. Well, you are, but you're doing it in the wrong order. You want it to be about them. And then you're the beneficial byproduct of the opportunity. Does that make sense to everybody? Do you have any questions or comments or feedback on that? And what I don't want to happen here, guys, I don't want everyone to think this all sounds great, but I don't have the time to do this. Like we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and this just has to do with delegation and taking advantage of the right steps in the process. Even if you're a solo originator or a solo real estate professional with no team or no support, you can still take the time to ask the question on the post-closing call, who can I connect with? And if they give you someone, then take that bone and run, right? Because that's a massive opportunity that that will allow you to have enough production and business to then build a team that creates more scalability, more success, more opportunity. So what to lead with in order to create interest? Let me start there. So the key kind of opener is that your clients don't want to have a mortgage, right? Your clients want to buy homes, they just don't know how, and they're afraid and they're nervous and they're scared, and there's a lot of what ifs. Our goal is not to sell loans or sell houses here. Our goal is to give every employee at XYZ Manufacturing the information and education they need and all the resources and tools to be really confident in the direction of their real estate and financial livelihood. Like that's what we want to help. That's fundamentally what we're trying to accomplish here. We know that if we can help people move closer to their financial freedom goal, and you as the employer are the purveyor of that, you're the person who's helping them accomplish it. I can't tell you how massively valuable that is from an employer perspective, but when we show you all of this stuff, if we have the opportunity to present, you'll see how impactful it is in all the studies and all the statistics around employee loyalty, around employee retention, in terms of output and efficiencies from employees. So you'll find that it helps substantially by investing in the real estate and the financial livelihood of your employees as well. That should create interest, right? Because now you're speaking HR's language, right? Really, most HR companies, even though yes, they're supposed to make sure people are paid correctly and all laws and appropriate conduct is being established, really good HR companies want to help all of their employees in a much more deep and meaningful way than most companies do today. So ending the first phone call, what's next? The goal there is, hey, thank you so much for your time. I'd love to get something on the books where we can come out and present this to you and whoever else, whatever decision maker would be there. We'd love to do that face to face, or we could just do it via Zoom, or Facebook had a thing called Blue Jeans. Any other medium where you guys can see us, we'll have the opportunity to see you and we can walk you through on the screen. And then once that when or if that makes sense, then we can kind of do more of an in-person partnership planning discussion from there. So follow-up would just be continuing to kind of work towards that goal and saying, okay, thanks for the phone call. If they say, well, let me talk to some people and get back to you, then I'd probably space it out a week at a time. and just continue to reiterate it. Maybe send them the deck, have them kind of peruse over it and say, look, this deck by itself probably won't really help you understand at a high level without the right context and without me kind of walking you through it. But just you'll have a lot of assets to be able to send to them. So creating a relationship with the first point of contact at the company, I think we kind of went through that already. Like the goal there is just to kind of set up that first conversation by having the employee make that introduction. Like that warm introduction is so powerful. Without it, your likelihood of getting that meeting probably goes down fairly substantially, because they get offers and they get people reaching out to them all the time, trying to sell them stuff as a company, different vendors. So they have a pretty high defense system, and they usually only let people in that defense system if they're looking for that product, or if there's a referral, or especially a high value employee puts them in contact. So let's go through the pitch deck demo here real quick. Let me log in and show you this. Okay. Trick. All right, I'm gonna get to page 1 here and then we'll get started. So we have this here, and obviously you guys would want to brand it for your own. So you'd remove this here. This is just the version that we've used. Put your own logo in, whatever is appropriate for you, and kind of take it from there. So when you're going through, this is kind of the presentation that you're going to give to the corporate partner. Right. So why partner with Art of Home Ownership? I definitely wouldn't read this. What you want to do is you want to get the gist of it and be able to kind of speak to it. And then you obviously leave this with them or send it to them. But the gist of it is that it's, companies really want to invest in the livelihood of their employees, not just the health and well-being. A lot of companies have, health plans. And so one of the things that I told a couple different corporate partnerships that we have is, my assumption is that you probably have some, gym membership associations or, health and wellness initiatives that you're trying to solve for. One of the things that we realize is that the number one cause of health issues is usually stress. And typically the number one cause of stress is going to be financial insecurity or financial worries. We want to help you solve for that. Right? If we solve for the cause of the stress, and if we help create confidence and education around it, then the health and well-being really kicks in, right? Because stress levels go down, inflammation goes down, all that good stuff. So this is more than just an employee perk, right? Or it's really a plan to help your clients at the root cause of their typical worries and fears and concerns. And then everything else should improve from that. So efficiency, connectivity with clients, client loyalty or employee loyalty, all those things are going to be helpful. And again, this is at zero cost to you, zero cost to the employee. There's no obligation to this. This is simply just value and education. We actually invest in you as a company, knowing that the likelihood of our, because this is not it's not a nonprofit, right? We're not just doing this because we're altruistic in nature. We just simply know that we can create a win-win situation where we can help all of your employees. And by doing so, some of those employees, when buying, selling, or financing a home makes sense for them, will utilize us because of the value we've given them to that date and the value they know that we'll continue to give them long-term and the education we provide along the way. So helping them understand this, like what causes individuals to lose focus, stress, allow us to help keep your employees' minds at ease. So all this stuff becomes valuable and helpful. We actually need to update this slide with relocation services here. And so AOH team, if we can just make a takeaway, we need to update this slide to say that differently. But this is where you kind of go through the different things. And I would encourage you at this point to pull up your own website and just kind of walk them through each one of the services. Obviously, I won't do that now, but walk them through each one of the services and what those services provide, specifically how it is going to help the employee who doesn't want to buy, sell, or finance a home today, because that's really the most important person to them, because that's 99% of their workforce are people that are not planning on buying, selling, or financing a home today, but ultimately want to at some point, and we can show them how we can help them accomplish that along with their other real estate and financial goals. So you can show them the relocation technology. You talk about trade up, talk about renovate pre-sales, renovation financing, home concierge, monthly real estate wealth digest, the financial review, maximizing wealth through real estate, and the perfect mortgage promise. You can either do that through your website or you can do it through the slides here, either one, just depending upon where you feel more comfortable. But again, all those things have to be explained as to not why it's important to the few people who might buy, sell, or finance a home, but the majority of the employees who probably won't do that in the next year or so. You want to make sure they understand what they can expect, right? So assume that they're going to partner and say, so, Joe, if you and XYZ widget making partner with us, the expectation is that, within 48 hours, first of all, what we'll do is we'll send out a video. We'll send out an email where people can, connect. They can go right to our website and sign up. And then within 48 hours of them signing up, a member of our team will reach out to the employee, make sure they're on all the systems, ask if they want to do their initial financial review, explain everything to them. And then within a matter of weeks, they'll get their real estate wealth digest. Within 30 days, they'll get an email from the concierge service. And then within the first month, they're going to get really great information and content. And that will kind of kick off their experience with ourselves and Art of Homeownership. And so not every one of your employees will take us up on this immediately. And that's where we just want to work on a strategy for maximum engagement, because we really believe how, in the value of having this for every one of your employees. So again, if you're wondering why is all this free, what's the catch? There's really not. Again, it's, as a mortgage and real estate agents, we unfortunately believe that those two industries, or our two industries, are misguided. They are very transactional in nature. They end up giving, your employees who are already have their own levels of stress and uncertainties, all they do is provide more stress and uncertainty. Becoming a homeowner doesn't solve problems. It typically creates them, because nobody is holding their hand. Nobody is continuing to help them. They just get sold a home, which is a liability, unless it's an investment property. And then they get sold a loan, which is definitely a liability. And it can actually create more misalignment than they had when they were previously renting. And so we feel like it's our actual fiduciary responsibility to change the mortgage and real estate industry for the better. And who better to start with than our local community, and helping XYZ Manufacturing and all of your employees make sure they don't have the same problem that most other people have when they buy, sell, or finance a home. So this is definitely a gift that you are giving to your employees. We're investing in your company, because there definitely is a cost for all this. It's just not a cost that you pay. And the reason why this works for us is because we understand most companies would pay for internet ads and put them in front of your employees. They would pay for billboards and hope your employees see them. They will pay for halftime commercials because your employees are likely watching the Super Bowl. And they're going to hope to one day sell your employees a house or a loan. And that's it. So as opposed to us spending all of our money on those marketing mediums, we understand that if we just invest directly in you and your employees now, that not only will we solve the problem that our Just Cause set out to solve, which is helping empower people towards financial freedom, but it will, again, selfishly help us help more people buy, sell, and finance homes in a way that's appropriate, non-salesy, and educational and supportive. And then kind of pause and ask for questions there. So, I would say, Mr. Smith, one of the, I realize that there's a lot of just common sense reasons why, you should offer this to your employees, because it's clear how it's going to benefit them. But we also want to make sure that you understand how it benefits XYZ Manufacturing. So, we have studies here, from there's a Fast Company article that was done previously that says happy employees are actually 12% more productive. So you'll see a spike in productivity, while unhappy workers prove 10% less productive, right? So you have a median, which is 0. If you have unhappy workers versus happy, it's a 22% gap in productivity. And typically, joy and happiness happen when people are balanced and feel safe and they feel inspired and they feel secure. And owning a home is a high level of safety. Especially if it's done in conjunction with a team of people who are consultative on a proactive and continual basis. Renting, there's fear and concern because, rent can go up, the landlord can sell the home, they may have to move. There's uncertainty around that. Getting in a good financial situation, having a good financial outlook and working towards financial freedom creates joy, happiness, and lack of stress. So not only will you be doing a great service for your employees, but as a company, you should see a productive uptick there as well. Next is when your employees own homes near their place of work, employee retention goes up and turnover goes down. Right? So being a part of, or being one of the main reasons why your clients are supported in the largest financial decision of their lives is extremely rewarding to them and helps you build a reputation in the community that demonstrates how much you care about your employees, not only in the workplace, but more importantly, out of the workplace. And there's a Forbes article here that talks about the study that kind of goes along with that. So, imagine the goodwill from a community perspective that will be built around XYZ Manufacturing if all of the employees there go tell their friends and their family and other people in the community, how much their employer cares for them enough to offer them these suite of services that helps them in their home ownership and financial goals. Next is, you want to make sure your employees are embedded in the workplace. And so the actual definition of an embedded employee is the combination of workplace engagement combined with the employee's involvement with and ties to their local community. So when you figure out how they work in your organization and you combine that with your involvement to their workplace and their community, like an embedded employee is an incredibly valuable person, right? Like they're flying the flag, right? They have pride around where they work, and nothing speaks more to, feeling proud of where you work than the employer proactively giving services and opportunities for people to have a more stable and more sound financial and real estate future. And then lastly is just improve profitability. And we actually included a link here. You can play this for them if you want, or you can just leave it with them and ask them to watch it later. But Bill McDermott, who is widely renowned as one of the best CEOs of all time when it comes to running a business, was actually on CNBC talking about a 5% improvement in retention is equivalent to 95% improvement in profit for most companies. So imagine you have your employees who constantly have to leave because cost of living becomes untenable, or their rent keeps going up and they need to move somewhere different, or they need to move back in with their parents in another state, or they need to move to a place where they can't functionally, drive to work every day. If your employees own homes near where they work, which you saw on the previous slide here, you see retention stay really high and turnover is down, which if we just increase that by 5%, you see a 95% improvement in profit. So again, you can do this for your employees. We fundamentally believe that you should do this for your employees, but there's also a substantial reason from a business perspective why this makes sense for XYZ Manufacturing. And then reducing employees' levels of stress at work. We talked about this kind of earlier on in the conversation, but according to the latest annual survey by Employee Benefit Research Institute, most average American workers are so stressed out about saving and preparing for retirement that it's hurting their job performance. 3 out of 10 workers admitted to feeling mentally or emotionally stressed, and half of them say they would be more productive employees if they didn't fret about money. Can't tell you how important this is. And again, we're not going to come in and solve your employees' financial woes or credit challenges or real estate mishaps. What we're going to do is take them from where they are today on a journey to where they ultimately want to go. And it's not the resolution of the problem, it's creating a plan and a system for an ultimate, a better outcome. And so just by us doing a kind of our initial review with your employees, we'll know, okay, do they need a financial planner? Do they need a good tax planner? Are their insurances in the appropriate place? Do they have an estate plan? Are they talking to their parents and children about generational wealth? What's their budget and savings plan? What's their real estate and living situation look like? And how can we improve that? So all of these areas are going to reduce your employees' levels of stress at work. Even if we don't snap our fingers and solve that problem immediately, they're going to know that they have a good plan and a good path and an opportunity to improve on that over time. So then you kind of want to follow up with benefits. So again, you'll see higher level productivity, you'll see an increased level of retention, you'll see a much higher level of employee satisfaction. And the last one, which we hadn't talked about, was in recruiting. A lot of the tech companies, especially in Silicon Valley, the majority of the recruiting they do is not salary or comp based, it's benefit based. Right? That's where, that's why you see these companies giving these crazy benefits packages, because they can't really offer more salary from a compensation perspective. It just isn't economically feasible for the company, but they can offer some incredible employee benefits. So 60 or 66% of millennials report they would take a new job with a company that provided better perks. In fact, many young workers do not want to own homes. They just can't afford. They do want to own homes. They just can't afford it. This creates an opportunity for employees to support that effort. So again, we're plugging holes in employees' lives that create the top three and ultimately allow you to recruit more people, potentially even away from competitors, because your employee benefits package is not only supportive of their health and well-being, it's supportive of their real estate and financial well-being. So then again, you kind of leave off here. And I would email them this deck. If you're meeting with them in person, leave everybody a copy. And ultimately, that's going to be your pitch. And then, key is follow up from there. Before I move on, what questions, comments, feedback? Anybody have any questions or suggestions or want to add anything to this? Okay. So the commitment and plan, right? So you've just gone through the pitch deck demo. At this point, I would say, what are your thoughts? I love your feedback. What are you thinking? Ideally, you get raving fans. This is where Facebook said, we love this. We'd love to have you on board. We'd love to set this up. Let's have you come up to our campus and, we'll kick this off. And they had what's called a pop-up shop where different vendors and different, kind of corporate partnerships will come and set up shop. So within a month, we were on their campus and we signed up 187 Facebook employees on the Art of Homeownership. And we're engaged with them and continuing to do that. Pandemic hit after that, so we haven't been back up to the campus since then because they currently don't have people on campus. But so now we're just doing monthly webinars and lunch and learns and those types of things via virtual delivery. But if they say yes, they want to do it, the key then there is to deliver the plan. So you want to get a day scheduled with the rest of the company or team. So depending upon the size, if it's a smaller company, get everybody in a conference center in a room, do a quick presentation, make sure that you have iPads or enough, laptops or whatever where people can be signing up. And so everybody by the end of it will all ideally be signed up for the service. If it's a massive company, then obviously that's not plausible. Then you want to figure out kind of a rollout strategy or a plan to do that, which could be a combination of email marketing, video content, could be multiple lunch and learns, and you want to create kind of a consistent plan. When you do that, one of the most challenging things for us, and it was relatively new with the Art of Home, with the Facebook partnership, was people were coming up to the pop-up shop saying, "Oh, what is this? What are you guys selling?" And we quickly had to realize, like, we aren't selling anything, right? And we had to get the script down because I didn't want to say, "Oh yeah, we're a mortgage company, and we're now your guys' preferred lender. Do you need a loan?" because that's not what we were there for, to be honest, right? So I said, yeah, we're actually, we're a mortgage company, but we partner with the Art of Homeownership, which is a platform that helps people like yourself, or really anybody, any prospective homeowners or current homeowners, with a way to become really successful homeowners in every aspect of real estate or finance. There's no cost to this. You don't pay anything. We're not actually selling you anything. And people are like, well, I don't get it. What's the catch? Because how do you make money off this? Why are you here? And I said, well, in full transparency, if we help you with all of these different areas, the assumption would be we've provided so much value, and that we'll continue to provide value, that we'll have the opportunity to help you figure out when you should buy, sell, or finance a home, and then we can just help you with that transaction at that time. If you never buy, sell, or finance a house, no problem. We're still going to help you with all these things. And people are like, huh, it's interesting. And then we had to talk about, the marketing strategy. We invest in you as opposed to investing in pay-per-click ads. And so I said, for example, do you own a home? And half the people said yes, half the people said no. I said, okay, well, are you getting any of these services from your real estate agent who helped you, or from your mortgage provider who helped you? And they're like, no, like, I haven't even got a call from them. Are you kidding me? And I'm like, well, first of all, I apologize about that, right? We're trying to change that in the industry. And so you don't have to do a loan with us. You don't have to buy a house with one of our real estate agents. We would love to adopt you as a client, and we can offer you all of these services. And then, our commitment is we're going to help you as you kind of grow your real estate and financial portfolio. So it's important how you script it and how you communicate it when you're in front of the employees and when you're kind of in front of the rest of the group there. Any questions on that? Anybody have any? Oh, so we got a couple things in the chat here. Mike is saying, ultimately, are you looking to get something signed from the employer? No, Mike, I don't think so. It's not there's no commitment here, right? Because you're not incurring any substantial cost other than the time that it takes to set these things up. So you could potentially put some things together, but I think anytime someone has to sign a contract that kind of locks them into something, it makes it more threatening, when there's no real agreement that needs to be made other than access, right? So as long as you agree on access to the employees, that's the most important part of it. So if they say, yeah, let's get signed up, but then you can't email the employees, you can't go to the workplace, you can't do in-person lunch and learns, well, then it's not worth it, because nobody's going to know who the heck you are. And you're not going to have the ability to do it. So understanding what access you have, the frequency to which the access you have, and then how can you integrate into their current system. So if they have like an employee portal where they log in and they can see, their different vendors, they can see their healthcare providers, they can see all that stuff. You want to have your logo and your login and your site there. And so you just kind of work with HR and say, okay, well, where's the best place for us to be? Do you guys send out a newsletter to all your employees? What type of company culture events are there? Do you guys do any health, wellness, and financial well-being days? Like what do you do for your employees that we can be a part of, and just kind of get some clarity there? So definitely wouldn't have them sign anything unless you're going to be spending money and doing some substantial kind of like work. Then you may want to get an agreement signed, but I don't even know what that would look like, to be honest. Steve's asking, how do you handle large employers who may doubt you have enough capacity or can be effective in all areas? Well, we at the time we were, we had probably 10 people on my production team, and we signed up 40,000, a company that had 40,000 employees. The reason why I wasn't too concerned, and this would be what you'd want to share, is because you're not going to need to do manual labor on 40,000 people. You're only going to get a certain percentage of them who sign up for this. And over time, ideally that percentage grows, but it'll scale appropriately to where you can keep up with it. You may want to tap into, depending on how well you do and the level of engagement you have, you may need to partner with other loan officers, right? You may need to partner with your company as a whole and say, hey, look, like I have an account here that may overwhelm me a touch. If I refer deals out to other loan officers, can we make sure that, or other real estate agents, I just want to make sure we have a referral fee, or, whatever we need to do there. But really, you just have to figure out the scope, right? And so obviously, 40,000 person company is going to come along, maybe once in a lifetime. Most companies are going to be 100 employees, 200 employees, 500 employees. Any single loan officer can handle that, right? Because even if you get 50% of them to engage and actually sign up, so 500 employees, 250 of them sign up. Of that, the system will launch to all of them, right? So they'll all get connected with the concierge. They'll all get connected with HomeBot. They'll start getting those digests. They're all going to get the link to do their initial annual or their initial financial review. And I would say, maybe 20% would sign up for that initial financial review, maybe less, right? So now you're looking at 50 people that signed up for an initial financial review, and it's just tied to your Calendly. So they're only going to pick the spots that are open. And if you don't know how to schedule your Calendly appropriately, your Calendly should be at a calendar that has nothing on it. So when those things come in, you can take it from the blank calendar and assign it to team members or yourself or production partners to have those calls based upon availability. But let's put it this way: if you sign up somebody and don't have enough capacity, I'm sure that other Art of Homeownership partners on here would be willing to help. So reach out to us, and depending upon the state and the scope and the licensing issues, we can figure out how to help support you there. But if they're concerned about capacity, you need to address that by saying, look, we help X number of clients per year. In the event that we need to help more people, we can absolutely have resources and overflow. But I'm fully confident in our ability to handle all the employees here. Okay, where are we at here? All right, so closing the deal. So we talked about this. You get your shot with a company, then what? You want to present the valuable in a way that's digestible and impactful to the consumer. So whether that's through email, whether it's through a video conference like this, whether it's in person, the last thing you want to do is spend an hour talking about the 8 things Art of Homeownership does at a high level. You really want to go kind of surface point and then say, what questions do you guys have on any one of these? What's important to you? What do you think is going to be most impactful? How many? You want to ask more questions than talk. So you want to pull as much out of the audience as you can. And then you kind of want to do a Q&A about overall real estate and finance, because that's where you'll find the most significant opportunity to really help people, because there's going to be people in the crowd or in the webinar that all these things are great, but they've been struggling to buy a home for the last year and they want to know how you may be able to help. Or they've been thinking about selling their house, but they don't know what to buy, and maybe the trade up program spoke to them, right? So you want to touch on each thing, ask if anyone has questions specifically, let them know they're going to get more content as the emails come out. But what can you help answer on each one of the different products? And that makes it a way, because when other people ask questions, it's a gift to everybody, because other people have that same question, they just didn't want to ask it. And so the more people ask questions, the more it will add value to everybody. Getting buy-in, why should they care? This is where you want to use good examples like story selling. So I would use the example of the Bank of America client who wanted the lowest rate, but missed out on 7 years worth of savings because she thought it was her job to refinance, as opposed to the lender being proactive about that, right? So the family that bought the home that they thought was their forever home, and they didn't talk to their parents, and 2 years later their parents needed to move in with them, they had to sell that home and buy something else, which created costs and challenges. So you want to use the drawing a blank on the name right now. Oh, the concierge program, right? How people moved into a home, and the study that we showed a while back, where 65% of people that buy a home, 65% actually millennials who buy a home, I think it was 42% of people overall, have a form of regret after they buy a house. And one of those is upkeep, maintenance, the cost of it, and the uncertainty around it, putting too much down. So you want to use data and stories that will relate to them. So they say, oh crap, I don't want to be that person. I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of sounds like that would be me if I didn't do this. So make it emotional and have them tie into the fact that they really need this as a part of their life and their family's life. And then motivating them to take action. So a strong call to action would be, everybody pull out your phone, right? Go to, rgthomeownership.com, which is our site, or go to, whatever your URL is, type in your name, last name, email, phone number, address, hit get in contact. And in less than 5 minutes, you'll all be Art of Home Ownership members. All of that will then flow into your CRM. You'll get notified, new lead, new lead, new lead, new lead, new lead, and then let them know over the next week, you'll be hearing from our team, and we'll schedule time to do your initial financial reviews. We'll explain the everything in more detail, and then we'll start to help you there, right? So that's your best call to action, right? Is take out your phone, log in, do this, sign up. And then following up in a way that creates value. Obviously, your normal Art of Home Ownership emails will be going out to all those clients that are already preset in your system. But being able to do consistent follow-up with monthly lunch and learns, right? Where maybe you bring in a CPA, a financial planner, a estate planning attorney. The real estate agent talks about the state of the real estate market. The lender talks about the state of the mortgage market, what's to be expected. So having more consistent engagement other than just having the Art of Home Ownership on autopilot is really what's going to make or break the benefit of that relationship, both for them and yourself. All right, we got 5 minutes left. Before I get into mindset, any other questions or comments? Steve says, excellent. Before I get into mindset, anything else? Anybody want to go over any questions? All right, let me run through this. Hopefully this will spark some ideation. First thing when it comes to mindset is you have to believe you're going to add value to each employee and ultimately to the employer as a whole. I fundamentally believe that the business that we are in, real estate and finance, is a confidence game. Because I'll tell you, I've tried, I called it Bay Equity at work, and then iMortgage at work, and then, Fairway at work, whatever company I was at, right? And then now we do have Neo. I didn't call it Neo at work, right? This is Art of Home Ownership. This is not a mortgage company's product. We happen to partner with Art of Home Ownership in our delivery to the employee, but previously I didn't have confidence that I could really add value to an employer. And so even if I had the opportunity to become the preferred lending team, or one of my agents had the opportunity to become the preferred agent for any company in the marketplace, I probably would have undersold it just through my delivery, because I would have thought, Jesus Christ, I don't know what I'm going to offer them. Right? Like a little bit of a discount, but they can get a discount anywhere. Right? There's still going to be people that even with a discount can give a lower rate. And I don't want to just keep going lower, because then I'm just spinning my wheels for no reason. Right? There's always going to be an agent who will do it for less. There's always going to be a lender who will do it for less. So now that I fundamentally believe that we're going to move the needle in the life of each one of these employees, and the employer will be better off for it, now I have all the confidence in the world to actually go do that. Because if you don't believe it, I promise they won't believe it. Like, your conviction is going to be the most important part of this presentation. It's not the words, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. 2 is you have to want to engage and be committed to the process and be consistent. If this is not something you actually want to do, then by all means, don't do it. Because the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a reputational pickle by kind of half-assing your engagement with a 2,000 person company in your marketplace. And now when it fizzles or just kind of falls apart because nobody's doing anything on it, it's like, okay, well, that was a waste, right? It was a waste of everyone's time. And this company's obviously not legit, or they would have had this, they would have done this better. So make sure you're actually ready to engage, be committed to the process, and be consistent with the delivery of it. And then lastly, I'll leave you with this. What if you were the preferred lender or agent for the top 20 employers in your market? What would that do? How many people could you help? How many families could you impact? How much of a difference in society could you make? The 20 top employers, depending on what you're marketed in, that could be 20,000 employees. It could be 1 million employees. but why not? Right? Why would you not make that a goal of yours? Or do we want to just run around chasing our tail, helping one client by one client and trying to find the next one? Would it be better to be the preferred person for 1 million people with constant interaction and engagement and repetition? Like, why isn't this a bigger part of all of our philosophies, our business models, our game plans? And up until now, I can answer that because we didn't believe we could do it. We can now. 60 seconds. Questions, comments, feedback. Love to hear from you guys. All right. Silent crowd today. Thank you all for being here. Again, this will be sent out to everybody. Share this with your teams. Share it with other loan officers that you respect, or you admire, or you think would be good. Share it with your managers. Share it with your companies. Let's make a concerted effort to change our industry for the better. And what a better way to do it than get in front of all the best people, all the best companies in the marketplace, to then saturate that entire community with a higher expectation of what it means to be a professional real estate agent and a professional mortgage lender. So have an amazing rest of your Wednesday. Have an amazing rest of your week. We will see you all next week. By the way, we're going to be doing a real estate agent presentation live. And so we'll be able to, everyone will be able to watch me kind of talking to a real estate agent about art of home ownership and why they should incorporate in their business. They're going to ask me questions. Our goal is to get a real estate agent that really doesn't know much about it and talk to them about why it would be useful in their practice, so everybody can kind of see how that's done. If you have a real estate agent that is would be willing to be the interviewer or the interviewee, like having me help them understand it, please reach out to our team. We'll send an email out to everybody. Give us a couple names of real estate agents that you'd love to learn more about it. And we will send them something nice and do something kind for them. We'll come up with exactly what that is, but I think it'll be helpful for everybody to see that. So enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. See you soon.